blog pieces that I saw seemed to be how to avoid needing your services. Tell us about the logic behind that.
Yeah, I mean, when we're writing blogs, we're thinking about what is going to help people.
Yeah,
Uh, and that is a good rule of thumb also in any advertisement. Think, what is the problem that people have that you can solve? And when people are looking for blogs or looking for articles, sometimes that injury or that unexpected event has happened already, and they're looking for, what do I do? But sometimes it hasn't happened yet. And so if you can give them useful information that can help them to avoid that pitfall or avoid that injury, they will still remember you, appreciate that information. And then life is inevitable. Maybe they personally don't ever have that pitfall, but maybe someone they do does, and they remember you helped them through a blog article and can refer you or recommend you. It's really in the blogs. It's the motivation is just about giving information that is going to benefit the public, that they're going to find useful. And yeah, we do have a lot of safety tips and safety things in our blogs because we think that um, it's something that will people will find helpful, useful information. And we don't want people to get injured. None of us are wanting that. We
of
just,
course.
if an accident or something does happen, we want to be there to assist them, of course.
Absolutely. And I appreciated the fact that a lot of your tips are about protecting children because there's nothing more terrifying, as you know, as a parent, than having your child be the one that's injured.
Absolutely. And that's kind of been a niche that I have been um, doing more and more of, is focusing on child injuries.
Yeah.
And I think because it is not something that a lot of law firms are focusing on. And I think as a mother, it is something that I am passionate about,
Hmm.
and that perhaps other mothers can hopefully feel a little more confident and safe with a lawyer handling their case who is also a mother and can empathize with their situation. And um, and no one is there's a saying that says the scariest place to be is between a cub and its mama bear.
Yeah.
So, like, the mama bear is definitely an aggressive advocate for their child or cub.
Yes. Or at least you hope so, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the podcast. You and I were talking briefly before we started recording. You're only like 38 episodes into your podcast, and you're already at the top 1.5%, according to Listen Now. So tell us about the podcast. What do you talk about, and how did you get started with that?
Sure. So the podcast is called Miss Biz. It is myself and my sister-in-law, Rachel Boltz. She's my co-host. And so we Rachel has worked with me as well. We talk about family. Rachel's worked with me for the last several years. She's also a paralegal and works for the law firm. And the idea to start the podcast came for a couple reasons. One is that through this entrepreneurial journey, I've really realized a passion for helping other business owners and entrepreneurs along their path with things that I've learned along the way. And so the podcast is a way to communicate that to a broader audience. It also is a great tool for creating video content because you can video yourself doing your podcast, and then you can make social media clips out of it. So in a sense, you can kill two birds with one stone and have both social media content, and you can have your podcast content as well. It also, for me, was a way to reach a broader audience because although there are people who want to hear tips on safety and tips on their insurance policies, it can be dry and boring to a large demographic. And so talking about business ownership and business growth and in
Yeah.
marketing was a little more interesting to a broader range of people than just talking about legal topics. So that was another motivation behind it, is that I want to build relationships with more people online and through the podcast, but even I don't know if I could sit in a room and talk every week about the elements of negligence.
Yeah, I
As
totally get
passionate
that.
as I am about the law, duty, breach, causation, and damages, isn't what I'm tuning into on Netflix at night,
Yeah. I totally get that. So, what are some of your favorite episodes you've done on your podcast?
Great question. I have one on business gifting. It's a um episode or two-part
Yeah.
episode. And I did a lot of research on that topic. I read books on it. And when you talk about the